Hello and welcome to part 9 of this Class D amplifier build. Greetings, the Astro 30 here yet again, and today I'm going to be looking at most likely doing the rear panel drilling and maybe getting around to labelling the front. I've got to take a nick out the hole on this front panel to stop the control snagging up against the corner of the hole there. In the last video, two problems I noticed. The immediate one was the bass control tended to distort the preamp on one particular track, that Yeah to the O track by I think it's Otis McDonald, but that's because it's a heavy bass laden track. The other issue which I actually cut out in final production was this heatsink here on the first module I built gets hotter than this one on the newer module. Now, I actually sent an email to John Clark this morning, and he did get back to me, and he said that because the output MOSFETs are going to be switching even with no input signal all the time, it is going to generate heat. And the difference between the two heat sinks, now this one ran at 31 degrees Celsius at idle with no input signal, this one at 27. He said the 4-degree difference is minor, but it could be due to differences in the dead time between the switching and also differences in MOSFETs, so it's probably most likely nothing to worry about. Now, as for the bass, now it was coming off of a CD player. CD players are notoriously known for outputting higher levels than normal line, and depending on how far compressed the audio signal is on the given track itself can cause an issue. The average output of a CD player, I've never actually measured it because I've never been able to get a test disc to do it with, but they run at around about 1.25 volt peak to peak max, and sometimes with distortion can be at closer to 2 volt. But what I might do is I might just hook up this board to the circuitry, and so I've got better way of connecting things other than that mess of jumper cables there. Okay, so after vomiting and doing some wiring, I've got some progress. I'm just doing the speaker connector because, well, it's easier to connect the speaker leads to a connector rather than have them just flying around. Just wanted to show a pretty simple way of doing heat shrinking. So I've got my heat shrink on the connector and I've got my heat gun. I'm going to use the low setting, and yeah. And just like magic, it's heat shrunk to what it needs to be. Yay! Okay, I've got the speaker connector wired up to the speaker relay and the output of the modules wired to the speaker relay. I've got the left-hand channel, which is on this side, wired in reverse on the output because that module is running in inverting mode, so it needs to be reversed to keep the two amplifiers in phase with each other. So I've got all the input circuitry done. It just makes it easier plugging RCA sockets in. I need to plug the sub in too, I forgot about that. So I'm nearly ready to power this up and test it. I'll just plug the sub back in quickly. Alright, now I've just got to be careful that this board does not short on the chassis anywhere, so I might just stick that cardboard tube in there to just prop it outwards. Now, plug it in. Seems to be functioning. So, I've got a light here. Noise there. on unterminated inputs. Terminated inputs are fine. Okay, so it looks like my input switching doesn't quite work out as it should. Might need to put terminating resistors across the inputs. But anyway, yeah, there's a bit of noise there. So, my penis. Right, so issue I've got is buzzing on the input when the channel is open. That is, nothing's terminated to it. It's not terminated to a input. I just tripped over the chair. There is a hum coming through, but there's not much I can do about that. So anyway, yeah. So let's have a listen here for a sec. Okay, so it's not distorting on any other track I can find except that yeah to the O crap. So whether or not I worry about it is another story, but having noise on the input there is a little annoying, which most likely is mains interference from the circuitry to the input. And yeah, I need to I need to change those resistors in the back of that circuit because yeah, they're getting hot. Okay, I knew that toilet roll would come in handy for something. It turns out that A, it helps if the mains lead wasn't resting up against the input sockets, and B, the board was not sitting on top of the speaker leads. That's why it's raised up in the air. It also doesn't play nice running on the 30 volt AC. Not one because the resistors there that drop the voltage down, or the current down I should say, are getting way too hot, but mainly because mains hum interference causes a loud buzz through the output, especially on when you switch to a non-terminated channel and you increase the volume full. You can't hear anything now. There is a slight hum there, but very, very, very faint. It's well more acceptable. And that's on an unused input. If I switch to a used input, noise is almost completely gone. So that's okay because it's also raining, but the power supply has a handy plus 20 volt and 0 respectively output, which is just perfect to run this circuit board, which also means that A, the Xeno diode is no longer required, so that can come off the bottom of the board, and B, those resistors are not really required, so that can be replaced with just a link wire. The regulator itself is not getting that hot, and yes, there is a slight fade out. See if we look at the LED there and then we unplug the unit, it fades out, but rather quickly. And of course there was a slight pop through the speakers when I turned it off. So technically speaking, that muting circuit for the power amps doesn't really work all that great. Sorry John, but it doesn't. Anyhow, that's beside the point. That means now that I've sorted out my issue, and this input selector will run fine on 20 volt DC, and there's no noise or anything that's concerning. I can still use this board, and now I can go ahead and do my back panel. And hopefully everything goes right. So I've already pre-measured the distances that I need to have holes and stuff. So now I've just got to do that task. And that board should still fit in the case just nicely. In fact, as I'm looking at it, I've got a good probably 5mm from the heatsink. So now that I know what I'm doing and where I'm going, I can move on. Penis. Okay, I've got the panel art done, well, drilling guide done, as you can see. That's with the IEC socket. I've got 4 10mm holes on the inside circumference because, well, I'm going to cut this square bit out with a jigsaw. It's going to be a shitload easier. Now, I've tested everything to make sure that these holes, especially for the input and sub-out section, are in the correct place. It's been measured about 3 times. That's just copied from another amplifier. It'll do the job. And everything. And I've checked it on the back panel, like on the rear of the amplifier, just to make sure nothing's interfering with anything. It shouldn't be, because that's roughly where the board's going to come, the edge of it. So yeah, there should be plenty of clearance between that and the side of the case. So yeah, now I've got to center punch all these holes and then start drilling. Postman just came whilst I was talking. No knob. And there it is there. Yeah, they're a little off, but the board does actually fit in there without having to do much manual massaging. So I'm going to leave it as is. So the next fun task is to clean this off and do the electroset. Yeah, so I'm going to get on with that, and yeah, we'll come back when I've got something to show for it. Ooh, arr, piss flaps, just like I bought one. So all I've got to do now is spray it with some clear lacquer to protect it and let it dry. And then I can stick it on the rear of the amplifier. I thought I'd get the labelling done for this one so I can just mount all the components and then forget about it. Yes, so it's sitting there baking nicely. Nice. I need to clean this viewfinder. I can't see jack shit out of it. Okay, so now I've cleaned the viewfinder. I can see out of it. The panel has been dried. I air dried it for 15 minutes first, then hit it with a heat gun for about 5 minutes so that this panel got red hot, and then I let it cool down, and now it's nice and dry. So now I can go about assembling the components to the panel. So I'll start with this input connector. Ah, for fuck's sake! Where the fuck did you go? It's not funny, it's a pain in the ass when that shit happens. Doing stuff on camera like this is kind of fucking... I have no idea where that screw went. Yes, I do. Just found it. So, I mean, I could do this off camera, you know, to get the thing done, but then it wouldn't be as much as enjoyable to watch, especially me fucking up. Yeah, that's the one. I didn't even notice the elongated hole behind it. I mean, albeit the RCA sockets don't line up with any of the holes, but yeah, it is what it is. So then I can stick in 4 of these self-tapping screws into the RCA connectors themselves. Now I can just torque them up till they're snug. Don't have to be over tight either. These are only plastic, so they will strip out, so I'm just tightening them basically finger tight. And the RCA sockets have pulled themselves to the panel. Albeit a little bit tiny crooked. So I'll then torque these up. That's the wrong size. Might be the next size up, I don't know. No, it's definitely that size. Okay. Just slips around. So, yeah. Well, for all intents and purposes, that board is now in there. Yeah, it's in there. So check it out. Yeah. It's just a little bit unfortunate the RCA sockets don't quite line up with the holes, but it's close enough. So now, I'll gently put that on there. I might mount this IEC socket. So I don't have to worry about that anymore. So that fits in there nicely. Now I need to find some countersunk screws for that. Penis, oh penis, will you be mine? My darling dear, love you one time. Fuck you. Fucking hell. I forgot what I was doing. Oh yeah, it's mounting this. One screw there. One screw there. I'm going to put a washer on either side. I know you can't really see what I'm doing. And guess what? I can't really see what I'm doing either. Well, I can barely just see what I'm doing. So that's one. Two. Let's grab the speaker socket in a minute. Now, just going to tighten the screws. Okay, that's that. There's the socket all mounted. Now I've turned it around because I've cut the condom that goes over it down. There's the other bit there, cut about 20mm off. Yes, it's a bit crooked, who cares. But it'll still serve the purpose and shorten it, because it was way too long before. And it still will cover the socket without interfering with the connections. Make sure I've got that the right way around. Because this is the last time I think I'm going to have to take this thing off. This condom anyway. If I can get it on there, it'd be nice. Really? There we go, the condom is on. Perfect. So now, all I need to do is mount the speaker connector, and then we're pretty close to actually mounting it on the back. However, I did think about changing this 220 microfarad capacitor here for the turn-on delay for the subwoofer relay to a 330 16 volt. because that comes on before the main relay comes on, so it's worth a thought. I need so I got the speaker connector now, and when I wired this into the amplifier to test it before, I wired it upside down. So, but this time I'm going to get it the right way around. So, or I should say the right way up. So now I need to pass each wire through its hole, which is always fun to pass things through holes, as rude as that sounded. I hope these holes in here are big enough. Yes, they are, and my letters are just perfectly where they need to be. So, as for the holes lining up on this, yeah, not bad. Okay, so I just lost a screw. I'll screw that on. I'll put it in the hole. Move this shit around. There we go. Now, one washer, one nut. It would have been nice if I could put the camera on the desk to do this so you could see what I was doing behind here, but all I'm really doing is putting a washer on and a nut. It's not that exciting, trust me. Okay, so these don't have to be overly tight either. Just enough to hold the thing to the panel. Stop it wiggling up and down. And that is the back panel assembled. Isn't that special? How nice. Okay, so I suppose it's time to connect it to the what's its name? The case. So I'm just going to loose fit this in position so I can see if everything clears everything. And well, fuck me, it does. That IEC clears just nicely. It's not interfering with the transformer at all. So that's brilliant. I really need to wire an earth tag onto that and attach it to the chassis. I'm not going to screw it on yet because I might have to screw around with that capacitor yet. Well, I'm going to screw around with that capacitor. So I'm just going to wire all these back up to where they go, put a eyelet thing on that and then attach it to the chassis, and then go from there. Okay, it's all hooked up and ready for its maiden voyage. So, well, no, it's not all hooked up. I forgot to hook up the input board to the power supply. That might help. I will mark that connector now with a positive mark so I know which one's which. The positive goes down the bottom. It connects to there. I need to put in proper wire yet. This was just for testing purposes. No, that's the other way around. There's a diode in series with the input anyway, so it doesn't matter if it does get connected in reverse, it won't work. And it won't damage anything. So, that's hooked up to the supply. Just make sure that that is tight and doesn't move. It's coming awfully close to that screw. Okay, now we're ready for a test, and then I'll think about changing that capacitor. Panel's still not screwed in. I haven't got the subwoofer hooked up either. I don't really need it hooked up at the moment. So let's turn it on. It was only like about half a second behind the main relay. No noise. Not much noise when I switch to another channel. There is switching noise there. That's with the volume full up though. Okay, let's see if we still get output. And this was that sub connected. Got it on the wrong input. Sounding nice. Penis. No, that sounds pretty good actually. Alright. So I'm happy with that. I'm definitely going to run that input board on DC, so I'll unplug it now and see if we get any rude noises out the main speakers. Yeah, there's still that slight turn off pop transient. There's really not much you can do. I don't think it was intended as a muting relay. I think it was more intended as a protection relay. So when the protection circuits kick in, it disconnects the speakers as soon as it can to avoid getting DC to them and destroying them, albeit a bit slow. Not so much as a muting function, but yeah, sorry John Clark, it doesn't quite work. You should have probably added a loss of AC detection circuit on there. Just saying. However, it is what it is. So, I don't need to change that capacitor. I'm going to leave it alone. Might as well, it works in its current configuration. Why do something you don't need to do? So, I don't have any cable ties because I left the bastards at work. So, I won't get them until tomorrow now. The controls could do with earthing to the chassis. I might have to take the boards back out to do that. It'd be a bit awkward, but anyway, what I can do now is I can screw the pack panel onto the case for the first time and last time. It doesn't have to come back off. So let's get on with that. Of course, the moment I'm ready to start doing it, I lose my screwdriver. It just vanishes into fucking thin. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I'm only going to put the 4 screws in required. There's 2 here and 2 over this side. The other 2 screws go into the top and the bottom panels respectively, but they're not on. So, start over here. I'll just start one off, so I can then start the second one off. For some reason that's coming up at an angle. Oh, because of the way it's landing on the desk, maybe? Wow, what the fuck's going on here? It's got to be because it's hitting the desk. Yeah, it's hitting the desk. Okay, I need to prop that up somehow. That was a bit of a what the fuck moment there. Yeah, this is next to fucking impossible. Fuck me. I mean, really. Okay, so when all else fails, I'm going to turn it sideways instead. So at least now I can get the frickin' screw in the hole. Not that I can see at this angle, but anyway, there's not much light up here. That's just turning around doing nothing. There we go, it started. And of course I dropped one on the floor. One goes in there. Oops. Now that is kind of tight. That's because it's coming into contact with the rail. Yeah, that'll be right. I wonder if it will just sneak in there. Yeah, it's coming into contact with that rail. Which means the rail should have been forward further. Not sure how I'm going to solve that. I can't put a drill bit through it because that'll okay, so this is going to have to come back off. Man, that's tight. I think I bugged the end of the screw, that's why. Might use a new screw for that. Yeah, that's really close to it. Fuck. Fuck me, they could have designed it so it fitted properly. I mean, how hard would it have been to move the fucking screw up? Right, I think I fixed it. I'm going to change that screw that I buggered the thread up on. What the issue was is this sub chassis wasn't actually square in the case, so it was further over this way on this side than it was on the other. I just undid the two screws and moved it. It shouldn't affect the rigidity too much. Might help things line up a bit better. But that should have given me all the clearance I needed. Yeah, just. But in actual fact, I'm going to throw the screwdriver on the floor. In actual fact, that whole sub chassis, I think, is not quite all the way forward. Yeah, I can't get that undone. It is now all the way forward. So if I make this all the way forward, that should give me plenty of room for that screw, which it does. How nice. Okay, put another one in here. And now I'll do the other side. I will flip him over. Because I'm probably going to have to move that sub-chassis side over as well, make sure it's all the way forward. Yeah, that one was all the way forward. It was totally off. How about that? So, do that back up. Seem to have lost the... Oh no, it's already in there. But so I seem to have lost a screw. No, I haven't. That hopefully will do it. And clear. Very close, but I think it did. So I think I'm safe there. I'll have a look when it's back on the desk. Down flat, that is. That's gone all the way flush. I can see the first 0.5 millimeter of the thread is touching the bar. Just touching it. But that's perfect. Okay, I'm happy with that. So now this panel is one with the amplifier. So, as I say, I need cable ties to tidy up my wiring a little bit in here. But yeah, and that's where I think I'd leave it today, is because, well, it's getting late and I'm getting tired. And I've been working at this all day. I need to remount the hole in the front panel a little with a file to accept this base pot so it's not scraping up against it. But I will hook it back up and do a final sound test. Yeah, we can have a listen to that. And I'll show you what it's like inside. But before I do a sound test, it might be a good idea if I actually wire up some DC wires from the input selector back to the power supply, so that's permanent. And I'll do that off camera, because that's not very exciting to watch me solder wires. Where's the trace? There's the trace. Now, I was going to investigate the distortion of the bass, but I really can't be bothered. It's just that one track that does it. Is it that great big of an issue? No. Do I think it'll cause problems in the long run? No. Well, maybe. But it's not really worth the effort of piss-farting around, because technically speaking, the volume control should have been before the preamp, but it's before the power amps to limit the amount of noise coming off the preamp into the power amps, so the power amps are nice and quiet. That was the whole entire point. I could add an attenuation to the input. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. Now, what I need to do is play with my penis. No, I do that too much. Grab this. Oh, if that'll reach. Yeah, it'll reach. I'm just going to poke this switch temporarily through the hole, just so we can see the LED light on the front of it. So I'm just going to sit there. It's not going to be permanently connected like that. Alright, so I'll get to wiring the DC wires for that, and I took the resistors off, by the way, and put a link in. The Xeno's now gone. The regulator IC is now flush with the board, and the muting relay was sitting up at an angle, so I've straightened that. Now, last little bit. Okay, that DC wire is put in for the 20 volt rail there. I think they provided that 20 volt DC rail there for their own input selector in their ultra low distortion amplifier project. Now, I just want to poke that out of the way somewhere. It's not going on. So we power it up now, and the sub's now connected. Let's see what happens. Brilliante. Okay, so it looks a little bit better with that power switch LED illuminated. That was the general idea. I reckon that Protect LED's brightness is a bit bright compared to the rest, but yeah, anyway. Okay, I'm going to close out this video with an audio track, just because I can. And I'm going to say, this is the Astro 30 saying, see ya, have a great day, thank you for watching. Please remember to rate, comment and subscribe below. And you can always follow me on Facebook and Twitter. The links are in the description as usual. And in part 10 we'll look at the front panel labelling. By the way, the rear panel font there is 18 point Times New Roman. Yeah, as I said, we'll look at the front panel labelling and finish that off in part 10, and hopefully by that time I've got my knob. I'm still waiting on my knob. I need my knob. I feel naked without my knob. Anyway, gonna start off by saying cheers. and yeah. I'm so fucking happy I could masturbate.